Brunch was supposed to be normal. Croissants, polite small talk, maybe a family argument over who drank the last of the orange juice. But not this. You're a nobody. Don't pretend you matter. My mother said it between sips of mimosa like she was reading a line from a grocery list. Her tone was soft, but the words, they carved through me like glass. Across the table, my brother Ryan snorted. "Honestly," he said, flashing that same smug grin he's worn since 8th grade, "we forget you exist half the time." They both laughed. Not kindly, not with me at me. Mark, my mother's second husband, just raised one eyebrow and smiled like he was watching a rerun of a show he'd already seen a dozen times. He sipped his coffee, waiting for the punchline to land. But the joke was me. I didn't say anything right away. I looked at my plate. Eggs Benedict, overcooked. I looked at the tablecloth. Pristine white and stiff, like everything else in that house. Then I looked up at the people who once called themselves my family. I tapped my fork once, just once, against the rim of my glass. The sound was light, barely audible, but it cut through the air like a warning shot. Everyone stopped. My mom's hand froze mid-reach. Ryan looked up confused. Mark leaned in expecting entertainment. I adjusted my posture, picked up my napkin, and calmly said, "This won't take long. Just 3 sentences." It wasn't a threat. It was a promise. And in that moment, when they saw the steel behind my calm, when they realized I wasn't going to cry or flinch, the laughter died in their throats. They didn't know it yet, but the storm had already begun. They said I was dramatic, sensitive, too quiet, too much, but mostly, I was just invisible. Growing up in that house was like living in someone else's story, one where I wasn't the main character, or even the supporting cast. I was the background blur, the extra, the shadow that held the camera. Ryan was the star, golden child, loud, charismatic, effortlessly adored. He could break a lamp and it became a learning moment. I spilled a glass of juice once and was grounded for being emotional. Every holiday card had Ryan front and center, his smile beaming, his trophies lined up in the background. And me, sometimes cropped, sometimes missing altogether. When I was 9, I won 2nd place in a school art contest, a pastel drawing of a lighthouse. I ran home beaming, clutching that little certificate like it meant something. I handed it to my mom. She looked at it, glanced up at me, and said, "You should really focus on science. Art won't take you anywhere." That same week, Ryan got a blue ribbon at school for Best Listener. She framed it, hung it in the hallway, next to his baby footprints, next to his kindergarten clay turtle. There was never room for mine. I used to wonder if maybe there was something wrong with me, some switch I didn't know how to turn on. Maybe I wasn't interesting enough, not smart enough, not lovable enough. But now I know the truth. It's not that I lacked value. It's that in their story, I was never meant to be seen. There's a moment, subtle, quiet, and deadly, when a child stops trying to be loved and starts trying to make sense of being unwanted. For me, that moment came somewhere between 9 and 12, somewhere between the pastel lighthouse she never looked at and the Christmas morning when I unwrapped a regifted mug that said, "Somebody's favorite daughter." That mug haunted me because I knew it wasn't true. I knew with every inch of my shrinking heart that I wasn't anybody's favorite. One night, while Ryan was away at summer camp, I asked my mom, "Did you want me?" She blinked, not startled, just irritated. "What kind of question is that?" she said. I shrugged. She went back to folding laundry. No answer, just silence, the kind that echoes louder than yelling. It stuck with me. I started counting things, how often she touched Ryan's shoulder, how many times she remembered my birthday without checking a calendar, how often she said, "I love you," without sounding annoyed. The answer? Always, almost never. So I wondered, was I the accident that forced them to get married? The mistake they covered with wedding cake and tight smiles? Was I the background of someone else's plan A? Because it sure felt like I was plan Z. When they introduced Ryan to guests, it was always with a story. He loves space, he builds robots, he's so gifted. When they introduced me, and this is Leah, that's it. No stories, no spark, just a name. And even that felt borrowed. It wasn't just neglect, it was deliberate erasure. Like they wanted to raise a child, but not me. It was a Wednesday, gray sky, cold floor. I was 12 and sitting on the couch eating plain popcorn, watching a cartoon I didn't even like. Ryan was upstairs. Mom was scrolling through her phone in that way she always did, absent but hovering. Then she turned off the TV. No warning, no explanation. She looked at me, not soft, not warm, just composed, mechanical. "I need to show you something," she said. I paused, popcorn halfway to my mouth. She handed me her phone. There on the screen was a single text message. "If you take her, I'll kill you both." Dad. I stared at it. My brain stalled. Everything froze. Kill me. My stomach twisted into a knot so tight I couldn't breathe. I looked up at her trembling. And she said so gently it almost felt like comfort, "Now you understand why I had to keep you away from him." I didn't cry. Not at first. I just nodded, like a soldier being told the enemy is their own blood. And that was it. No further questions, no second opinions. The man who made me grilled cheese, the one who clapped for my second-place art ribbon, the only one who ever said, "You're not invisible to me," vanished in one text, deleted from my life, my heart, and my memory by 10 words on a glowing screen. And I believed it. I had to, because what child wants to believe their own mother would lie like that? After the message, there were no explanations, no family meetings, no tearful conversations on the edge of my bed, no, "This is going to be hard, but we'll get through it." Nothing, just silence. My dad disappeared. No goodbye, no hugs, no letters in the mailbox, no birthday cards, no "I'll see you soon, sweetheart." Just gone, like he had never been there. And the scariest part, everyone acted like that was normal. My mom didn't cry, she didn't rage, she didn't even seem sad. She just got to work. New rules, new tone, new version of history. She called it the rebuilding phase. I was expected to be grateful that I had escaped a dangerous man. Grateful that she had protected me. Grateful that she was strong enough to do the hard thing. But nothing felt safe. Nothing felt stable. There were no family dinners anymore, only meals, where she talked and I nodded. No bedtime stories, just chores. No warmth, only rules. I wasn't allowed to ask about him. His name became radioactive. Say "Dad," and you'd see her jaw lock. I learned to say him, or nothing at all. The worst part, I started thanking her. Like I actually believed she had done something noble. Because she needed me to believe it. Because she was rewriting the story, and I had no choice but to recite my lines. It didn't start with screaming, or slamming doors, or fists pounding on tables. It started with correction, soft, precise, daily. Every time I showed a feeling, she had a name for it. If I cried, overreacting. If I questioned her, disrespectful. If I sat quietly too long, unstable. If I got excited about anything she didn't approve of, immature. There was no emotion I could have that wouldn't be labeled, boxed, and handed back to me as something I should be ashamed of. She gaslit me long before I knew what that word even meant. She rewrote my memories in real time. That's not what happened. You're remembering it wrong. You're too sensitive. It wasn't even a big deal. She'd say it with a smile while spreading butter on toast. Like she was doing me a favor. After a while, I started to believe her. Started to doubt myself. I would feel pain and apologize. I would feel anger and swallow it. I would feel joy and hide it. Because nothing felt safe anymore. Even my own thoughts betrayed me. And when she was upset, I became her release valve. She'd vent to me for hours about work, about Mark, about how ungrateful Ryan was, and I would just listen, nod, absorb, disappear. "You're so good at being calm," she once told me. "You're like a sponge." At 12, I thought that was a compliment. At 22, I realized it meant, "You're the one I bleed on, so no one sees I'm wounded." It started quietly. At first, it was just a feeling, a strange emptiness that crept in when I least expected it. I'd be sitting in the passenger seat of a friend's car, and she'd say something simple like, "My dad always checks my tires when I drive home." And it would hit me hard, this ache, sharp, fast, and completely uninvited, because I didn't have those stories. No, my dad taught me how to ride a bike. No, he used to sing to me when I couldn't sleep. No, he still calls me Pumpkin. I had silence wrapped in fear and 10 vague words on a screen. "If you take her, I'll kill you both." That was my only inheritance, a digital curse dressed as truth. And yet, that didn't feel like the man I remembered. Because the truth is, I did remember him. Not perfectly, not clearly, but deeply. He had soft hands. He made grilled cheese with the crusts cut off. He told me stories where I was the hero. And once, just once, when I was 6 and scraped my knee on the sidewalk, he carried me home on his back and said, "If the world ever hurts you, you come find me." What kind of man says that and also threatens to kill his child? The question crawled under my skin. I tried to push it away. Tried to tell myself I was just lonely, just confused, just desperate for something warm. But the ache didn't leave. It grew teeth. It whispered at night. It curled up inside my dreams and left me waking up breathless. Because when a lie is told long enough, your heart starts looking for the cracks. And mine was starting to remember. It was 2:17 a.m. The world was asleep, but my heart wasn't. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, the glow of my phone casting shadows across the sheets. That message, "If you take her, I'll kill you both." It kept circling back, like a bad dream I could never wake from, like a riddle I was never allowed to solve. And then suddenly, I opened my contacts, typed in the name I hadn't spoken aloud in over a decade, Dad. I didn't know if the number still worked, didn't know if he'd changed it, didn't know if I wanted him to answer. But my fingers typed it anyway. Hi. I stared at the screen. I almost threw the phone across the room, almost deleted it before it could be delivered, but I didn't. 15 minutes later, 3 dots appeared. Typing. Then, "Hi, sweetheart. I've waited so long to hear from you." I stared at that message until my eyes burned. Not angry, not bitter, just there, like the porch light left on, just in case I ever found my way back home. We met 3 days later. Neutral ground, a quiet park Sunday morning. I expected someone broken, hard, cold, weathered by years of silence. But what I saw was a man in a worn jacket holding a paper cup of coffee and smiling like he'd never stopped believing I'd come. He looked older, grayer, but when he said my name, Leah, it was exactly the voice I remembered. Soft, gentle, unchanged, like time had stolen everything except that. We sat on opposite ends of a quiet park bench. Leaves rustled. Children laughed in the distance, but between us, only stillness. He didn't reach for me, didn't cry, didn't give me some grand speech. He just sipped his coffee, then said gently, "You look like her." He meant Mom. But he didn't say it with bitterness, just observation. Then I asked it, the question that had rotted in my throat for over 10 years. "Did you send that message?" He looked at me, not surprised, not offended, just sad. He shook his head. I never would. And then, without warning, he added, "Leah, I never even raised my voice to you, not once." And just like that, every memory I'd buried started clawing its way back. The way he always crouched to eye level when I was upset, The way he would whisper stories instead of yell. The way he'd take deep breaths when he was angry, then come back 10 minutes later with a grilled cheese and a quiet apology. He never screamed, not once. But my mother, she made me believe he would kill. I sat there frozen, like someone had pulled the ground out from under me, like my entire childhood had been a film dubbed in the wrong language. My face burned, not from shame, from fury. I had believed her. I had defended her. I had thanked her for saving me from a monster she built out of thin air. I felt stupid, small, exposed. But I also felt something else, a spark, tiny, trembling, but alive. Because if she lied about that, what else was buried? And for the first time in my life, I wasn't scared to ask. I had a plan. But I couldn't walk in like a storm. I had to become the weather, unnoticed, persistent, and impossible to escape. So I texted her, "Hey Mom, I lost my job. Can I stay for a bit?" 3 dots. Pause. Then the answer. "Fine. You'll stay in the laundry room. Don't expect handouts." Classic her. Control dressed up as charity. I packed a bag. Not with comfort. Not with nostalgia. With purpose. I wasn't going home. I was going undercover. When I arrived, she didn't hug me, didn't ask how I was, just motioned to the side hallway like she was pointing toward a garbage bin. "You can put your things next to the detergent." The laundry room. 4 walls, no window. A dryer that banged like a heartbeat from a haunted house. Shelves stacked with folded towels and expired resentment. She gave me 2 house rules. Pay rent, do your share of the chores. Ryan, of course, still lived there rent-free, job-free, responsibility-free, leaving his dishes in the sink like souvenirs of laziness. I was back, but I wasn't there to reconnect. I wasn't there to heal. I was there to dig, and this time, I wouldn't blink. I became 2 people. By day, I was Leah the Grateful, smiling, cleaning, laughing politely at Mark's painfully dull jokes. "Millennials don't even know how to fold a fitted sheet," he'd say, and I'd chuckle like I hadn't been folding my own survival since I was 9. I cooked, I swept, I scrubbed baseboards no one looked at. I passed the orange juice like I hadn't tasted resentment in every drop. I said thank you every time they tossed me scraps of civility, as if politeness could undo decades of erasure. But by night, I was someone else entirely. While they slept upstairs, while the house settled into that creepy post-midnight silence, I moved like a ghost. I searched closets, dug through boxes marked taxes and holiday decor. I scanned old mail, cracked into file cabinets, ran my fingers across every drawer in that house like I was reading Braille. And finally, I found it. An old laptop, dusty, heavy, tucked behind a stack of faded towels in the hallway linen closet. The charger was in the drawer labeled Random Tech Stuff, of course. I waited until 2 a.m., plugged it in, and there it was. The home screen, still alive, still logged into her profile. Same wallpaper, same folders. It was all there. Now it was just a matter of time. And patience. Patience was the one thing this house had trained me for. It didn't take long. 3rd folder in, a Word document, titled simply, Draft Custody Communication. I opened it, and there it was. Line 1, if you take her, I'll kill you both. No sender, no timestamp, just text on a blank page, a draft, written 5 days before she claimed he had sent it. And on the side, little comment bubbles, too dramatic. Should I make it shorter? I blinked and blinked again. She hadn't found that message. She had written it. I sat back in the chair, my pulse slamming like a war drum. My chest ached, not just from shock, but from the weight of every time I had believed her over him. And it didn't stop there. I clicked in for the next folder, emails, years worth, mostly between her and Mark. Conversations like, he's weak, he'll cave if we push. Make him look unstable in court. I can testify he's paranoid. Once custody is locked, we'll move the money. Already working on the BVI account. The BVI account. I didn't even know what that was until I Googled it. British Virgin Islands. Offshore. Untraceable. Until now. In another folder marked Finance Old, I found scanned documents, bank statements, wire transfers, company names I'd never heard of. It was a network, built carefully, executed flawlessly, and every piece of it was hidden, right there, between monogrammed towels and expired Christmas lights. I sat in that laundry room, laptop on my knees, surrounded by dust and lies and bleach. And I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just whispered to myself, okay, now I know. The truth didn't crush me. It armed me. It looked like any other Sunday brunch. Champagne glasses, overbaked quiche, a tablecloth so white it begged to be stained. Mark made another joke about millennials and laundry. Ryan bragged about something no one asked about. Mom was in her usual form, slicing into a peach tart like it had personally offended her. And me, I passed the orange juice, I folded my napkin, I smiled. Just enough, because none of them knew what I had in my bag. Not a gun, not a weapon, but something far more dangerous in this family, the truth. In a black folder, thin, unassuming, tucked beneath my chair like a secret waiting to exhale. I waited for the moment when the noise felt just loud enough and the lies felt just thick enough to slice through. Then I tapped my fork once against the side of my glass. Clear, sharp, intentional. All eyes turned to me. I stood up. No drama, no raised voice. Just one calm breath, one steady hand, and then I said it, the line that would split the air like lightning. This won't take long. Just 3 sentences. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. I reached into my bag, calmly, deliberately, like I was handing someone a napkin, not detonating a decades-old lie. And from inside, I pulled out a thin black folder. No logo, no label, just truth wrapped in matte black silence. I placed it gently in the center of the table, right between the peach tart and the pitcher of mimosas. The room froze. Mark tilted his head like he expected concert tickets. Ryan squinted at it like it was homework. And Mom, she didn't move. She stared at it, hands motionless, face pale, like the blood had forgotten how to reach her skin. I didn't blink. She finally reached out, her fingers trembling like she already knew what was coming. She opened it. First page, second, third. With every flip, her breathing changed, shorter, shallower. By page 5, her hands were shaking. By page 8, Mark stood up so fast his chair screeched across the tile. "You said you deleted that stuff," he barked. I didn't even look at him. I just adjusted my sweater and said, "The originals are with people who actually matter." Then I smiled. Not with joy, with finality. "That copy, just for you." And I sat back down, fork in hand, like nothing had happened, like everything had. No yelling, no name-calling, no revenge speech. Just silence, thick, deafening, permanent. Mom stared at the folder like it might catch fire. Mark paced behind his chair, muttering curse words under his breath. Ryan was the only one who looked at me, eyes wide, unblinking. For the first time in his life, silent. I stood, pulled my coat over my arm, slid my bag back onto my shoulder. And as I reached the door, I turned just once and said, "You always said I was invisible. Funny how now I'm the only thing you can see." Then I left. No slamming doors, no dramatic music. Just the soft sound of my heels down the hallway and the echo of their entire story collapsing behind me. I didn't need to ruin them. They had already done that themselves. All I did was bring the light. 3 days after brunch, Leah sat in a lawyer's office beside a man who once disappeared from her life but never stopped loving her, her father. He looked older, tired, but when he signed the paperwork, his hand didn't shake. The lawyer reviewed the folder, twice. Then looked up and said what Leah already knew. This is enough to reopen the case. A case that had been buried for over a decade. A divorce built on forged threats, fraudulent financial transfers, and emotional manipulation. Now it was alive again. Court ordered the family estate frozen. A forensic audit began digging through years of offshore accounts and false shell companies. Digital experts traced the death threat text to the family's own Wi-Fi. Ryan's name popped up on 2 fraudulent transfers. Mark's email trail was damning. Leah's mother tried to deny everything, but she forgot one thing. Leah kept receipts. And the courtroom? It wasn't brunch. It didn't laugh. It didn't roll its eyes. It listened. And it believed. The house on Belridge Lane, the one with white columns and silent hallways, was sold. Not for profit, for penalty. Court ordered, liquidated, gone. Leah didn't attend the auction. She didn't need to. But she saw the listing online. The kitchen still had that antique kettle she once burned her hand on. The garden still had the bird bath she was never allowed to touch. Now, someone else's. Her mother moved into a 3rd-floor condo. No maid, no marble countertops, no control. She called it temporary, but Leah knew better. Mark. An offshore audit lit up like a Christmas tree. Wire transfers, ghost accounts, fake charities. His advisors dropped him within days. Ryan, he disappeared. No goodbye, no apology. Just vanished like the love he never gave. And Leah, she didn't dance, she didn't celebrate, she just exhaled, like finally setting down a weight she was never meant to carry. 2 weeks after the court's ruling, a Facebook account appeared. Profile photo blurry, name Leah Holstead. Bio, truth hurts, ask my father. It posted screenshots, selectively edited messages, implied scandals, shady captions. The goal, to paint Leah as unstable, to make her look like she was lying. But the internet has eyes, and digital fingerprints don't lie. Leah's lawyer sent the metadata to an analyst. 15 minutes later, the account was created from her mother's IP address. In court, the revelation was met with silence, then stifled laughter. Even the judge sighed and shook his head. Leah's mother tried to object. Her lawyer just packed up his briefcase. Because how do you defend a fake Facebook smear campaign run from your kitchen? That was it. The final thread. The last mask. Gone. It wasn't a mansion. It didn't have gates or guards or chandeliers. Just a small house on a quiet street where the light filtered in through trees that didn't ask questions. The floor creaked in places, the sink dripped, the couch had a tear on the side, but it was real. Leah sat on the porch with a mug of hot coffee, watching the afternoon sun settle on the yard. Her father joined her, moving slower than before, but still with that same gentle silence. They didn't speak for a while, just the clink of mugs, the sound of birds, the comfort of presence. And then softly he said, "You didn't have to do all this, Leah. I would have understood." She looked at him, a calm smile on her lips, her voice steady, clear. "I didn't do it for you, Dad. I did it for me." He didn't say anything else. He didn't need to, because in that moment he knew she wasn't the girl who needed saving anymore. She was the woman who saved herself. A week later, an email appeared in Leah's inbox. Subject line, "You'll understand someday." She opened it. A wall of text. No greeting, no apology, just deflection, blame, excuses. "Everything I did was to protect you. You always misunderstood me. You were never grateful. I hope one day you see things clearly." Leah didn't respond. She didn't cry. She didn't get angry. She just hovered her cursor over the Move To icon, clicked, created a new folder, named it Unrequested Fiction, moved the email, closed the laptop, sipped her tea. Because when the story ends, you don't argue with the villain. You turn the page and keep living. They used to call me invisible, forgettable, a ghost in my own story. But here's the truth. I was the only one paying attention. I remembered every silence, every sigh, every time they looked away like I didn't exist. While they laughed, I listened. While they mocked, I documented. And when the time came, I didn't scream. I brought receipts. You don't have to yell to be powerful. You don't have to fight to win. Sometimes the quiet girl, she's the one who burns the whole house down with the truth. Not everyone who yells is right. Sometimes the quietest person in the room holds the loudest truth. Leah didn't need to scream. She didn't need revenge. She walked in with documentation and walked out with freedom. In life, you may be overlooked, underestimated, even erased. But if you pay attention, keep your dignity, and never forget the truth, your time will come. Remember, silence isn't weakness. Calm isn't surrender. And truth doesn't need to shout to be heard. If this story hit home, if you've ever been underestimated, silenced, or dismissed, hit that subscribe button. Because here, we tell the stories no one wanted to hear and give voice to those the world tried to silence.